All right, well, let's transition over to the ACC, at least while those teams are still in this conference. And let's start with the Clemson Tigers. What is the level of expectation in Death Valley? What would you say defines success for a Clemson team that is kind of lost their footing over the last couple of seasons?
I mean, it starts with getting back to that baseline of 10 wins, right? And they don't have the luxury of playing in a conference where 10 wins will automatically get you in. I think if they're in the SEC or the Big 10 and they get to 10 wins, 99% of the time, you're going to be locked and loaded in a 12-team playoff format. So getting to 10 wins would be awesome. That would probably get them into the ACC championship game in Charlotte. And of course, now they win that game, they're automatically in and they're a top 4 seed in the playoff all of a sudden. So get to 10 wins. That's a solid baseline and I think a fair expectation for the talent level of Clemson. And if Dabo can't do that in the current iteration of the ACC, especially with this schedule that he has right now, I don't know. It might be time to start looking around and thinking if Dabo is the same that he was 5 or 6 years ago, if college football has changed so much that it's kind of passed him by. Because their schedule, Mitch, it's not difficult. I know they start with Georgia, and then they have NC State at home. I think, man, NC State is borderline darling team for me right now. I haven't locked them in as a darling, but
careful. Been there.
Fan. I know. We've been down this road before. I think both of us have had them before, but it just seems like if it doesn't happen this year, it's never going to happen for the Wolfpack. They have them week 3, but they get them at home. Their only road games that I'm worried about are at Florida State and at Virginia Tech. And I think they're going to be a slight underdog at Florida State. I think they're going to be favored by about a touchdown, probably at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's going to be plucky, but if Clemson is truly playoff caliber, they should handle this iteration of Virginia Tech in my mind, even in Blacksburg. So the schedule other than that is really, it's shaping up to be really easy. Especially in the ACC, they get Stanford, Wake Forest. I think is going to be god awful. Virginia is going to be god awful. Louisville is going to be plucky, but new quarterback and a lot of turnover on that team. Then they have a Pitt team on the road that I think is also going to be very difficult. So, or not very difficult. So, I don't know. Like if they don't get to 10 wins on that schedule, we got to start asking some real questions about Dabo Swinney's future at Clemson.
Couple things. First of all, with NC State, beware the seductive tones of Grayson McCall and the Wolfpack.
I've already gone on the record, man, multiple times. Like I'm way past not ignoring the seductive tones. I'm in on Grayson McCall as a Wolfpack.
They should be a ton of fun this year. Secondly, I know you were looking at conference opponents, but you skipped right over App State in week 2.
That's true. Did
we not learn that lesson in person a couple of years ago that you can't just skip over the Mountaineers?
The career arcs of Jimbo Fisher and Dabo Swinney are shockingly similar, are they not? Like other than switching schools, like the only thing missing between those two career arcs right now, obviously Dabo won more than one title, and Dabo didn't switch schools. But
are you saying Dabo is the Southern Baptist Jimbo Fisher?
I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's not, Mitch, because the program trajectory is just a little scary. And I think if you put Jimbo Fisher in the ACC, the records probably look pretty similar to what obviously Clemson has not bottomed out like Jimbo Fisher did. But I mean, people are talking about what the future looks like. And if he doesn't doesn't get 10 on the schedule, because you're right, App State's going to be plucky, but they're at home. And if you are Clemson, what Dabo Swinney has turned Clemson into, you should beat Appalachian State by multiple scores. I know they're plucky. I know they're fun, but Dabo's Clemson, if he has not fallen off, should beat Appalachian State by multiple scores at home.
Right. App State shouldn't be scoring more than 10 against that Clemson defense at home, right? Like that's what they've done is they've just smothered teams in Death Valley. The last thing that I'll say is actually let me just correct a little bit of Virginia slander. Tony Muskett and the boys, I was doing some reading the other day. They might not be atrocious. I can't speak for that defense at all. I don't know that anybody can speak for the defense, but the offense might be kind of fun to watch. So, Cavs Nation, like let's ride. Let's see what you got. As far as threatening Clemson, though, point well taken. They certainly shouldn't do that. Yeah,
And
I'm
if
not.
those teams do threaten Clemson, the narrative just writes itself about Dabo, because that's what's been
Yeah,
happening the last 2 or 3 years ever since Trevor Lawrence walked out the door.
yeah,
They have not been dominating the teams that Clemson is supposed to dominate.
yeah.
And if they continue to do that this year, the questions are rightfully valid.
Man, and if South Carolina makes it 2 trips in a row, beating Clemson in Death, like Lenoris Sellers, if Lenoris Sellers walks into Death Valley and comes out with a victory, yeah, Dabo's in all kinds of hot water. I think
Yeah.
when I look at this schedule, and I haven't gotten to the ACC written preview yet, so I don't have a projection, like an official take on the over under. I think 10 wins is the absolute floor before you start rolling your eyes and going, "Oh my gosh, they did it again." Like Dabo, if you're not going to mine the transfer portal, if you are going to stand on this soapbox and make that your brand, then you have to win double-digit games every single season.
Right.
Otherwise, you're out of excuses. Like you probably should not be coaching at a program like Clemson if you are going to look at the top way to get talent and to create a winner overnight, which is the transfer portal. And if you're going to say, nope, we don't do that, and it costs you games, I honestly think you could fire Dabo, with some sort of cause for that. I think it would be mismanagement.
Absolutely. It'd be gross mismanagement, because when you look around the teams that have passed them up in the ACC, Florida State is built through the portal. Miami is projected to pass them this year. I know they didn't the last couple of years, but they're projected to maybe pass them this year, built through the portal. All around the country, these teams that are on supposedly Clemson's peers are reloading through the portal. Alabama's doing it. If Nick Saban's doing it, you better be doing it to keep up. And I know that he is obviously gone, but it's gross mismanagement if you don't back it up by winning at least 10 games. I think that's completely accurate what you just said. Because, yeah, they're probably going to lose to Georgia week 1. I think that's fair to say. And you'll give them one loss throughout that conference schedule at Florida State. But if you're not winning the rest of those games on your schedule and competitive with Florida State at the very least, then you're obviously letting your program get lapped by the rest of the league. And that's just unacceptable.
Totally agree with you on that. I'm fascinated. Clemson is one of the most fascinating stories, for better or for worse, each year right now. I cannot wait to see how their 2024 goes.
Gracious, how about that?